the hypercar world had a no excuses, no compromises showdown, this would be it, the futuristic hybrid. 3D printed Czinger 21C VMAX versus the old school twin-turbo. Runway destroying Hennessey Venom GT. One looks like it was built by engineers from the year 2050. The other looks like it escaped from a secret Texas lab with a mission to humiliate physics. And when you put them head-to-head in a VMAX battle, you don't just get a car comparison, you get a clash of eras, philosophies, and pure automotive madness. The Czinger 21C VMAX is the kind of machine that makes even seasoned supercar fans stare for a few extra seconds. It isn't just fast, it is engineered like a technological flex. This car was created by a company obsessed with lightweight structures, additive manufacturing, and doing things in ways the traditional industry still finds slightly offensive. The VMAX version exists specifically to reduce drag and chase straight-line speed, ditching much of the standard 21C's aggressive aerodrama for a sleeker body aimed at cutting through the air more efficiently. It's not trying to be subtle. It's trying to be scientifically terrifying. Road and Track and Car and Driver both describe the VMAX as the top-speed-focused version of the 21C, with a claimed 253 miles per hour top speed and a combined 1,250 horsepower hybrid setup. Then there is the Hennessey Venom GT, which represents a very different kind of insanity. Where Czinger feels like a precision-built digital weapon, the Venom GT feels like someone asked, what if we made a car as light as possible and then gave it enough power to rearrange weather patterns? Built around a highly modified Lotus-based platform and stuffed with a brutal twin-turbo V8, the Venom GT earned its place in automotive legend the old-fashioned way, by showing up to runways and trying to break the horizon. It isn't merely a famous hypercar. It is one of the most iconic speed monsters ever built, and its 270.49 miles per hour run remains one of the defining moments in the top speed wars. On paper, the first thing that grabs attention is the power. The Czinger 21C VMAX uses a hybrid powertrain that combines a twin-turbo V8 with electric motors to produce a total of 1,250 horsepower. It's a modern hypercar formula. Combine brutal combustion power with electric instant torque and advanced control systems, then wrap the whole thing in exotic packaging. The result is not just huge output, but a level of responsiveness and torque delivery that feels almost unnatural. This is not the kind of power that builds slowly. It attacks. The Hennessey Venom GT, meanwhile, fights back with a much more savage character. Depending on version and year, the Venom GT has been quoted around 1,244 to 1,451 horsepower, with the higher figure especially associated with the Spider and later spec cars. The coupe that achieved its 270.49 miles per hour record run used a 1,244 horsepower 7.0-liter twin-turbo V8, while later Venom GT variants and the Spider pushed even harder. That means even today the Venom GT's power numbers remain deeply intimidating. It may be older than the Czinger, but in horsepower terms it still punches like a heavyweight with anger issues. But hypercar battles are never just about horsepower. If they were, spec sheets would be enough and nobody would care about the actual cars. The real magic and the real violence happens when you look at how these machines deploy their power. The Czinger 21C VMAX is all-wheel drive, which immediately gives it a huge traction advantage. That means when you launch it, the power doesn't just try to vaporize the rear tires and your self-respect. It hooks up and goes. The electric front motors help fill gaps, sharpen response, and create a launch experience that is less dramatic wheel spin and more fighter jet leaving a runway. The Venom GT is much more of a traditional beast. Rear-wheel drive, massive power, lightweight body, manual feeling aggression. It does not care about your comfort zone. It cares about whether you're brave enough to keep your foot in it. That layout gives the Venom GT a raw analog energy the Czinger doesn't quite replicate. It's the sort of car that feels alive in a slightly threatening way. In a straight line, that means it can be absolutely devastating, but it also means the driver is a much bigger part of the equation. The Venom GT doesn't flatter you. It interrogates you. Now let's talk about the headline event, top speed. This is where the VMAX in Czinger 21C VMAX is supposed to matter most. Czinger designed this version to chase maximum velocity, and its claimed top speed sits at 253 miles per hour. That is an absurd number by any rational standard. Most people will never experience even half of that in their entire lives, unless they have very bad ideas and a suspiciously empty airport nearby. A 253 miles per hour capability puts the Czinger in truly elite company. It is not just fast. It is your brain refuses to process the scenery fast. And yet, the Hennessey Venom GT simply walks into the room, drops a verified 270.49 miles per hour runway run on the table, and reminds everyone why it became such a legend. That number isn't theoretical marketing fluff, it happened. It was recorded at the Kennedy Space Center in 2014, and it instantly became one of the most talked about top-speed achievements in modern hypercar history. The Venom GT didn't just talk a big game. It showed up and backed it up in the loudest possible way. So if we are talking pure VMAX bragging rights, the Venom GT wins, cleanly, ruthlessly. The Czinger 21C VMAX is engineered with extraordinary sophistication and might be the more advanced machine overall. But unless it proves a higher real-world number, the Hennessey owns this category. In the world of top-speed legends, claimed speed is interesting. Recorded speed is immortal. And the Venom GT's 270.49 miles per hour puts it in a different chapter of the story. That said, acceleration is where this fight gets much more complicated. The Czinger 21C VMAX benefits from modern launch control, electric torque, all-wheel drive traction, and a powertrain that behaves with ruthless efficiency. Car and Driver estimates 0 to 60 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds and the quarter mile in 8.6 seconds, which is frankly absurd enough to sound like a typo. That sort of acceleration moves beyond quick and enters the realm of internal organs filing complaints. The Czinger is built to erase hesitation. From a dig, it should feel absolutely nuclear. The Venom GT, by contrast, has historically been one of those cars that delivers acceleration in a more dramatic, explosive, and slightly more chaotic way. Hennessey claimed sub 2.5 seconds 0 to 62 miles per hour runs early on, and later versions have been quoted under 2.4 seconds to 60 miles per hour. That is still savage. But it also reflects the reality of a high-power rear-drive hypercar versus a modern AWD hybrid weapon. In a perfect launch with a brave driver and ideal conditions, the Venom GT is devastating. But in repeatability and low-speed traction, the Czinger likely has the edge. This is where the comparison becomes fascinating, because the winner depends on the distance. Over a short drag race from a standing start, the Czinger 21C VMAX may well be the more efficient killer. It can use every bit of its hybrid system and a WD traction to turn physics into paperwork. But once speeds rise and the runway stretches into the horizon, the Venom GT becomes more dangerous. That's when its insane power-to-weight ratio and proven high-speed capabilities start to dominate the conversation. In other words, the Czinger might win the first punch, but the Hennessey lands the bigger one later. Weight is another crucial part of this story. Hypercars at this level are all about the relationship between power and mass. The Venom GT became famous partly because it had ridiculous power in a very light package. Reports and official references place it around the 2,700-pound range, which is featherweight territory for something with over 1,200 horsepower. That is one reason the car feels so outrageous. It isn't just powerful, it is undermassed for its level of violence. Like giving a chainsaw espresso. The Czinger 21C VMAX is also engineered with extreme weight consciousness. But because it is a hybrid all-wheel drive machine with batteries, motors, and more systems, it carries more complexity and more mass. Car and Driver estimates the VMAX at around 3,700 pounds. For a modern hybrid hypercar, that's still impressive, but it is nowhere near as skeletal as the Venom GT. The difference is philosophical as much as numerical. Czinger uses technology to make the weight worthwhile. Hennessey simply tried to avoid weight like it owed him money. Aerodynamics tell a similar story. The Czinger 21C VMAX is a product of contemporary computational obsession. It has been shaped, refined, and adjusted specifically to reduce drag and maintain stability at insane speeds. It is a car that looks like Airflow designed it personally. Everything about it suggests that the engineers spent a lot of time staring at simulations and saying things like, what if we made it even more unreasonably efficient? That makes the VMAX feel like a machine built not just to go fast, but to make high speed feel surgically controlled. The Venom GT is more old school in its aerodynamic philosophy. It is sleek, low, and brutally effective, but it comes from an era before the current wave of ultra-complex active aero and hyper-digital optimization became the norm. That doesn't make it primitive, far from it. It simply means the Venom GT achieves its madness with a slightly more mechanical, slightly less algorithmic flavor. It's a knife rather than a drone. And for many enthusiasts, that is exactly why it remains so special. Styling is where these two cars cannot be more different. The Czinger 21C VMAX looks like a concept car that accidentally became road legal. Its central driving position, tandem-style seating arrangement, exotic surfaces, and sci-fi detailing make it feel like an object from a video game or a future racing series we haven't invented yet. It doesn't merely look expensive. It looks experimental. If parked outside a luxury hotel, it would probably cause 3 people to forget their own names. The Hennessey Venom GT, on the other hand, has a more compact, muscular, predatory look. It is not trying to look futuristic in the same theatrical way. It looks purposeful, mechanical, and brutally serious. It has that small car enormous consequences, visual energy that makes it so intimidating. Where the Czinger says, "I'm the future," the Venom GT says, "I'm here to ruin your benchmark." Inside, the gap in philosophy grows even wider. The Czinger feels like a cockpit because it basically is one. The central seating position alone transforms the experience. You don't sit in it so much as you strap into it. It feels like the entire car was designed around the idea of making the driver feel like the center of the machine, literally and emotionally. This layout isn't just dramatic. It changes visibility, weight distribution feel, and the psychological experience of speed. It's not just transportation. It's theater at 250 miles per hour. The Venom GT interior is more functional, more minimalist, and more honest about its priorities. This is not a car built to impress you with ambient lighting or artisanal stitching philosophies. It is a machine that exists to go absurdly fast and make you fully aware of that fact. The cabin feels like a byproduct of engineering rather than a lifestyle statement, and that actually adds to its charm. The Venom GT doesn't want to pamper you. It wants to recruit you into a conspiracy against normal cars. Exclusivity matters too. And both of these machines are operating in you don't casually see one at the gas station territory. Czinger's production is extremely limited, with only 80 total 21C units planned across versions. That means the VMAX is not just rare, it is practically mythological. It is the sort of car many enthusiasts will only ever experience through screens, magazine covers, and slightly unhinged YouTube reaction videos. The Hennessey Venom GT is equally special in its own way. Production numbers were tiny, and that rarity helped cement its status as a legend rather than just another expensive toy. It feels like one of those cars that slipped through a crack in automotive history, too wild, too extreme, too singular to ever really happen again in the same way. The Venom GT is not merely collectible. It is historic. Now imagine these two in a proper YouTube-style cinematic showdown. Cold morning, empty runway, cameras low to the ground. Engines firing up like declarations of war. The Czinger 21C VMAX would likely launch harder, cleaner, and with more violence off the line. It would feel immediate, digital, and terrifyingly composed. The Venom GT would probably come in like a monster from the analog age, slightly more dramatic, slightly more dangerous, and potentially more savage the longer the distance goes. The first few seconds might belong to the Czinger. The final stretch might belong to Hennessey. And that's what makes this comparison so addictive. It isn't just about which one is better. It's about what kind of madness you believe in. If you love innovation, futuristic engineering, hybrid brutality, advanced manufacturing, and the feeling that the automotive future has already arrived, then the Czinger 21C VMAX is the one that wins your heart. It is one of the boldest hypercars ever conceived, and it feels like a blueprint for where extreme performance is heading. It is clean, efficient, and almost frighteningly intelligent. But if you love raw power, record-breaking history, old-school American audacity, and the idea that a car should feel a little bit like a controlled crime, then the Hennessey Venom GT remains nearly unbeatable in character. It is less polished, less digital, and maybe less next-gen, but that's exactly why it still hits so hard. It has the kind of legend status you cannot manufacture with marketing. You earn it by doing 270.49 miles per hour and leaving everyone else to explain themselves. So who wins the ultimate Czinger 21C VMAX versus Hennessey Venom GT battle? If your scoreboard is top speed and legendary status, the Hennessey Venom GT takes it. If your scoreboard is modern technology, launch performance, innovation, and future-facing engineering, the Czinger 21C VMAX fires back incredibly hard. But if we're being brutally honest, the kind of honest that belongs in hypercar territory, the real winner is anyone lucky enough to witness either of these machines at full attack. Because cars like this don't just move fast. They reset your understanding of what fast even means. And that, more than anything, is why this matchup feels so perfect for YouTube. It has everything. Speed, engineering, exclusivity, attitude, history, and enough horsepower to frighten a small nation. One is the future, one is a legend. Both are completely insane.